Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? Edgeman's Ninja coming to you guys here today with another deck tech. So today we're going to be taking a look at a standard deck, and it is 4-color Reanimator / Control. So this is not the traditional 4-color Reanimator decks that you guys may be used to seeing already. This one is one that I worked on myself, and I came up with this type of Reanimator deck where after sideboarding, it can be transformational, and you can kind of abandon the Reanimator portion of the deck and just turn it into a control deck, like more so like a Bant type of control deck in operation schemes. But also you have the big guys like Thragtusk, Angel of Serenity, and some other interesting cards in the sideboard and main board as well. But we're going to break it down here today. So 4-color Control / Reanimator. If you guys have any suggestions for decks that you would like to see, please leave that down in the comments below. And be sure to check out the playlist in the description below where I have other decks that I've covered previously. There's a playlist with an archive. So we're not going to waste any more time here. We're going to take a look at the mana base first. So we're running 26 lands, and we have our shock lands first. So we have Temple Gardens. So we have a playset of Temple Garden. So we're going to put those up there. From there, we have Overgrown Tombs. So we have a playset of Overgrown Tombs as well. The land base is fairly expensive, but you can kind of expect that with most of the decks in Standard nowadays. From there, we have Hallowed Fountain. So we're running 2 Hallowed Fountain in the build. And you can appropriately search for the colors that you need with Farseek. So the Shocklands are perfect targets for Farseek. From there we have Hinterland Harbor. So we are running a playset of Hinterland Harbor, providing green or blue. From there we have Isolated Chapel. So we have 3 Isolated Chapels here, providing white or black. And the mana base was probably the most difficult thing about this deck and getting things to work properly. But ultimately this land base has been working fairly well. From there we have Woodland Cemetery. So we're running 2 cemeteries, providing black or green. We are also running Cavern of Souls in the deck because counter spells are in fact a thing in the format. So with Cavern of Souls we're using 2 of them. And the 2 things that we're going to be naming are either Angel or Beast. And Angel is going to go into Angel of Serenity and also Avacyn, Angel of Hope, which a lot of people wouldn't expect to be in Reanimator decks, but it actually has been working well. But regardless, you can go either with Angel for mainly Angel of Serenity or Beast and have your Thragtusk and Craterhoof Behemoths come in into play and not be countered. So the 2 Cavern of Souls end up working very well for that. From there we have our basics. So we have 3 basic planes. And then we have 2 basic islands. So ultimately the land distribution was kind of a tricky thing, like I said before. But when you look at everything and how things are going to come in tapped or untapped and what dual lands and shock lands pair together, it ended up working perfectly the way that we have it here in front of you guys. So land base 26 lands. From there we're going to take a look at the rest of the stuff in the deck. So starting off with creatures in ascending order, we have Centaur Healer. So I'm running 2 Centaur Healer main board, 2 of them sideboard for aggressive stuff, and he's a 3/3 for 3, enters the battlefield and we gain 3 life. Mainly I have 2 of him because I didn't want to really commit to having a way to stop aggro game 1, just because there's so many decks in the format. You could just play something that is completely opposite of aggro. You can play a control deck. But Centaur Healer is nice up against aggro. If we need more life gain, we can side in 2 more. But running 2 of them was kind of the middle ground here of how many I wanted to actually include main board for game 1. So 2 Centaur Healers up against the aggro matchup. If it's something that's very non-threatening, then we can just side Centaur Healer out. From there we have Thragtusk. So Thragtusk is just enormous. Most every green deck is going to be running him. But 5/3 for 5, enters the battlefield, we gain 5 life, leaves the battlefield, and we get a 3/3. So We're running a playset of him, as you guys could imagine. It's a very expensive deck, but for you guys that have the money to put down on it, or for you guys that just play on like Cockatrice or even Magic the Gathering online because things are cheaper to acquire on there, it's definitely something that's really fun to play. From there we have Angel of Serenity, so I'm actually just running 2 of them. So Angel of Serenity is a 5/6 4/7 for generic and triple white. Flying, enters the battlefield. We may exile up to 3 other target creatures from the battlefield and or creature cards from the graveyards. And whenever it leaves the battlefield, return the exile cards to their owner's hands. So if we're playing a little bit more mid-ranged where we're board wiping and using stuff like that, then Angel of Serenity can go and get the creatures that we have that went to the graveyard already, but it works just as well as removal on our opponent's stuff, but you have to be a little bit cautious because there is removal for Angel of Serenity. So stuff like Ultimate Price and just other sorcery speed removal will get rid of her pretty easily. So the best thing about her is just getting your own cards back from your grave. From there, we have Craterhoof Behemoth, so 5/5 for a nice whopping 8, and he has haste, and other creatures are going to get +X/+X and trample, and it's equal to, well, all creatures get +X/+X, and it's equal to the amount of creatures that you have on the battlefield. So if you're playing off of Lingering Souls, then you could have a sizable way to just win the game, and especially with Cavern of Souls, if you can get Craterhoof Behemoth to be uncounterable, unless they're playing like Alchemist's Refuge or something like that where they're able to play a board wipe, you still have a pretty sizable advantage of playing Craterhoof Behemoth and swinging. So one Craterhoof Behemoth, he's a nice target to reanimate and win from there, but even with just playing off of Cavern of Souls, he can be easily hard cast. So 5/5 for 8, big scary dude. From there, we have Garruk Primal Hunters. So Garruk Primal Hunter is a 2/of in our build. So he is 3 loyalty and 5 cost. +1 gives us a 3/3, which is definitely relevant. -3 lets us draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures we control. So more times than none, it's going to be like 5 off of like Thragtusk or something like that. But it could be potentially bigger. But Garruk Primal Hunter is really nice with the +1 and the -3. The -6 is getting some 6/6 worms equal to the lands that we control, which is a pretty nice ultimate that he has. It's never guaranteed because there's still Detention Spheres and Sever the Bloodlines that can get rid of multiple tokens, but Garruk is definitely nice with that -6. If you're able to have it resolve and it's not dealt with, then you just win from there. But 2 Garruk Primal Hunter. From there we have all the other non-planeswalker, non-creature spells. So we have Lingering Souls, so sorcery for 3 and put 2 1/1 White Spear creature tokens with flying onto the battlefield. Flashback for 1 generic, 1 black. So we're running 3 Lingering Souls in here. Makes a great way to block stuff early on, even though they die to Bonfire and Thundermaw Hellkite. It's a problem, but it's not impossible to play. It's not like a surefire way, like, oh, they play Bonfire, they instantly win, or they resolve Thundermaw Hellkite, they instantly win. We have ways to deal with that, but Lingering Souls earlier on, and especially with Craterhoof Behemoth, it's really nice. From there we have Farseek, so we're running a playset of Farseek to fix our mana and accelerate us along early game. So playset of Farseek. From there we have Forbidden Alchemy, so I'll grab an English one here. I'm very fond of Japanese ones, but Forbidden Alchemy, 3 cost instant, and look at the top 4 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest of them into your graveyard. So it's a way for us to be able to dredge cards from our deck and just get them into our graveyard, and then we can reanimate from there. Flashback for 7 as well, 6 generic and 1 black, so it's not... It's expensive, and it's a pretty steep price to pay to flash it back, but it's still better than nothing if you're digging for anything. But Forbidden Alchemy is definitely nice. You get to keep 1 card amongst all of them that you're looking at out of the top 4, and the rest go to the grave. So Burial Rites and stuff like Angel or Thragtusk, if you have Angel, to be able to dig and get them back, just fish them out. But Forbidden Alchemy is definitely nice as a playset in this type of build. From there, we have Unburial Rites, as you guys could imagine. So return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield for 5, and it has a flashback for 4, 3 generic and 1 white. So Unburial Rites is a nice little combo that we have in the deck. So we're running 3 Unburial Rites. From there, we have Sphinx's Revelation, so another really huge and tremendous card. We're running 2 of them. And it's a 1 white, double blue, and X. You gain X life and draw X amount of cards. So when you have a huge amount of surplus mana, you're able to both gain life against other thrashy type decks, and you're able to draw into other stuff like Thragtusk if you need the life, Angel of Serenity to solve situations and things of that nature. From there, we have Supreme Verdict. So we are running 2 Supreme Verdicts main board. Destroy all creatures that can't be countered for 4 mana, 1 generic, double white, and 1 blue. So it's a way for us to play a more mid-range type of game where we don't really care too much if we're getting rid of our creatures, because we can reanimate them, we can get them back with Angel. We can thwart other aggro and just play off of Unburial Rites. So Supreme Verdict is definitely nice for that, because we can just kind of reset the playing field and build ourselves back up, because we have a better chance of doing it than our opponent. From there, we have 1 Terminus, so put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries for 6 mana, and it has a miracle cost for 1 white. Terminus is nice against like zombie builds and stuff like that, where you don't necessarily want things to die, so Terminus is a way to deal with that, but it's not a preferred method just because we're playing off of our graveyard, obviously, so we would like our things to actually be hitting the grave, but at the same time, if you run into zombies and decks of that nature, Terminus ends up being a little bit more appropriate. From there, we have Detention Sphere, so removal, more like spot removal at a sorcery speed. And it's an enchantment for 3, enters the battlefield. We can exile target non-land permanent not named Detention Sphere and all other permanents with that same name as that permanent. Whenever it leaves the battlefield, the exiled card comes back. So we have 2 Detention Spheres to get rid of threats. And then from there, we have Ultimate Price. So we're running 2 Ultimate Price, and it's destroy target monocolored creatures. So Hell Riders, Thundermaw, Hellkites, Angel of Serenity, they're Thragtusk as well, because if we have like Ultimate Price and a board wipe like Supreme Verdict, we can Ultimate Price their Thragtusk, Supreme Verdict right after on our turn, and just not have to worry about tokens or anything like that. But whatever the given situation, Ultimate Price is here where we can just not have to worry about monocolored creatures, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that you would have to worry about, but the big stuff is like Thundermaw, Hell Rider, Angel of Serenity, Thragtusk. Those are the kind of big things out nowadays. So now we are going to take a look at what we have in the sideboard here. Alright, so how I was saying before that the deck is very transformational, we're running Rest in Peace in the sideboard, so it's an enchantment for 2, 1 generic, 1 white, and whenever it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from all graveyards. If a card or token will be put into the graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. So the way we're playing off of Rest in Peace is if we're playing up against Reanimator, we will pretty much drop the notion of wanting to play Reanimator anymore, and we become a just really kind of gritty control deck. We play our Rest in Peace, we can play Supreme Verdict and get rid of their stuff, and not let them play off of Reanimation or anything like that. As it is, Reanimator is going to be siding in more Deathrite Shamans if they don't already have 2 or 3 main board. So they are going to be playing off of getting rid of stuff out of our graveyard as it is. So Rest in Peace is pretty appropriate. We get rid of their stuff, their ability to reanimate, and then we just start playing Supreme Verdicts and just blowing up their board and not letting them hit the grave. So 3 Rest in Peace. It's also fairly useful against decks that are running like Runechanter's Pike. From there, we have Jace Memory Adept, so we're running 2 Jaces, and this is another transformational card where we can play this against Reanimator because they're already going to be milling themselves like a little bit until they realize, oh, well, you're playing Rest in Peace, we can't really do that anymore. But Jace kind of connects the dots there. We're able to play him for 5 mana. Reanimator doesn't have a huge way of dealing with him as far as instants or sorceries go. They don't really have a set, oh, this amount of mana card, just get rid of a planeswalker like Dreadbore or something like that. Well, at least not all of them. Some of the Reanimator builds play Dreadbore, but a lot of them are going to be looking to play stuff like Sever the Bloodline and just have things exile instead of just outright kill, and have it be destroyed and die. But Jace Memory Adept has very little ways to actually die against Reanimator or get destroyed, to use a better term. So in a couple of turns you win the game with Jace. So he's an easy win condition against Reanimator. Against Control he's also fairly good, as he has been in previous seasons. So Jace pretty much has the same role as he has always had in Standard since he came out, since Memory Adept came out. From there we have Abrupt Decay, so we're running 2 Abrupt Decays, and this is against, more so against control decks than anything else, because you want to get rid of Detention Spheres and Oblivion Rings if they're running Oblivion Ring. So Abrupt Decay is that response to it, and I mean you can set it in against other types of small aggro decks where they're running cards with a lot of cards with converted mana cost 3 or less, but I think the more appropriate use of Abrupt Decay is just against Detention Spheres and not having to worry about that, because we don't always want to bank on having that black mana to play the Abrupt Decay, even though we shouldn't have a problem with it. If we run into the instance where it's unfortunate and we don't have it, then we're kind of screwed out of there. But Abrupt Decay works a little bit better against Control, and having that uncounterable way of dealing with enchantments with 3 converted mana costs or less. From there we have Supreme Verdict. So Supreme Verdict is up against any big aggro decks, Reanimator as well. We just clear the board for 4 mana. So 2 Supreme Verdicts. From there we have Centaur Healer, like I mentioned before. So against really quick-paced aggro decks, the red deck wins builds, zombies, stuff like that, we're able to side in Centaur Healer. So we have 2 healers. From there we have Avacyn, Angel of Hope. So this is definitely a really interesting pick, and a lot of people would be like, huh, Avacyn, Angel of Hope, that's very interesting. Avacyn is a really kind of unique card to have in your sideboard. It's an 8/8 for 8, so it's pretty big. Flying, Vigilance, and Avacyn and all other permanents you control are indestructible. Now, the reason why I like this is up against the Thundermaw, Hellkites, and stuff like that, where if you play Avacyn, Angel of Hope, then, okay, you have an 8/8 with Flying and Vigilance, but also your Lingering Soul tokens and any other cards that you have are indestructible. So I really like that up against the all of the builds where they're just playing off of like black, red, and just trying to be very, very aggressive. They won't really have too many ways to deal with Avacyn, Angel of Hope, and if they do, they better have it when she's hitting the table. But Avacyn's really nice. She doesn't die to ultimate price. They have to use like Sever the Bloodline, Detention Sphere, stuff like that, Terminus, and otherwise she's pretty much the key piece to actually winning the game. And Vigilance is very nice with her too. But this was one of those sideboard tech cards that I really liked her, and I wanted to try her out, and she's actually been working fairly well. So 1 Avacyn. And then we have 3 Negates. So Negate is 1 generic and 1 blue, counter target non-creature spells. So mainly against Control, also against the Jund mid-range builds, we have that way of just countering their non-creature spells. So that is the main board and the sideboard that we have here for this very non-traditional 4-color Control / Reanimator type build. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. The entire deck list is down below. I encourage you guys to try it out and have some fun with it. If you enjoyed this deck, please be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, have a wonderful, fun-filled Magic the Gathering day.